Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath, the podcast that explores the movies that influenced how we view love and romantic relationships. Yes, there will be spoilers. I'm your host, Diana Rodriguez-Goddard. I carried a watermelon.
Hello, Diana.
Polina, hi.
Hi.
Guess what?
What?
You're here.
I am.
Ryan's here.
Oh, whoa.
Hello, Diana and Polina.
And we're talking about Dirty Dancing from 1987.
Yes.
I'm so
Oh my
excited.
God.
So much build up.
It's true. This episode has been a very long time in the making.
Basically, as long as I've known Diana.
So much longer for you than for me, but
Oh my goodness. Yes. Anyone who has heard one of our promos on a different podcast will hear my voice say, "Do you ever go on vacation with your family and hope the dance instructor would fall in love with you?"
there we go.
Yours was about Say Anything.
Yes.
And we covered that
We did.
very well.
But you didn't get your due until today.
Well,
On this podcast about the formative romances in movies, this is like the ultimate one for you, right? This is the foundation. You've been saving it for a very special occasion.
for me, it was very important because it turns out there's many movies like this,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was a little girl, and this could be like one sentence and then relationship over with this movie, I wasn't looking for the dance instructor, but it was, you find, in my case, your boyfriend while you're on vacation. Look what happened with Baby and Johnny. So imagine 8-year-old Diana
Mm-hmm.
camping with her family, walking around the other sites looking for boys vaguely my height, and just like, where are they?
I had that similar, because actually after this movie, it was right before this movie. It was before. I remember I went to Provincetown, and it was like, but I had seen other movies about this, that you were supposed to find your your boyfriend in the summer. Like this already was part of the zeitgeist. I hadn't seen this movie; it hadn't come out. But I think, and then of course we end up in this in the summer in this this gay resort town.
Well,
So it didn't really work out. However,
okay. Was it Fire Island?
it was Provincetown. So yes,
Is that
which is
what it was called before it was called Fire Island?
no, they're two different places.
Okay, good. I don't know the East Coast.
It's okay,
Polina.
that's
Okay,
fine.
yeah. That's why I bring you here.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's always backfired on me.
Okay, so yes, I also never found a boyfriend on vacation, but it was kind of
I mean, you weren't traveling, but
I was on
Like
summer
summer camp.
vacation.
Summer
Yeah.
camp, but
That's what I was
summer
exactly
camp
what I
is
was gonna
very
say.
different.
That was
Summer
exactly
camp
what I was going to
is-
say.
yeah.
The whole summer camp thing where you meet people and you know, because it's
excellent
Also-
foundation for a long-term relationship when you're about to go to your respective homes.
Yeah.
that are like
Also, I
miles
kind
away.
of feel like, summer camp was like we never went for vacation for like 3 weeks. This is not a thing we did.
Okay,
That's
so
the other thing. It's
thank
like
you
by
for
the time
answering.
that I would have gotten up the courage to make out with anyone, we would have had to go home.
Okay, so it's so funny that you say that, because thank you for answering the 3 weeks thing, because for some reason we were under the impression at the end of the movie when we watched it, how long was this movie? A week?
That's what I did too, and then I was rewatching it, and he says
After 3 weeks.
you're gonna forget.
I remember them saying that their plans were to stay at the resort for 3 weeks, but when I was trying to nail down the chronology of like the relationship, they were saying like when it kicks off, the whole thing with Baby having to stand in for Penny in the dance performance, and they kept saying like Penny's due to dance at the hotel on Thursday,
Right.
like this coming Thursday, which implies that like that span of time lasted less than a week.
At the most, it would have been Friday,
Yeah, exactly.
like the
So-
Friday before the
And,
Thursday.
yeah, and it's like, and then the climax of the movie is like the end of the 3-week period when they're wrapping up and getting ready to go home. So presumably,
but so
I
much
just assumed
happens.
that I just assumed that like 2 weeks passed without incident, and the main action of the movie all takes place during the 3rd week. That was my interpretation.
I think that actually makes sense.
I wouldn't think so. I think that, it's just like, a week happened because she had to actually get in good with actually not being like kicked out of being at the guest quarters, and then
Being allowed in with a watermelon. Yeah.
and then the middle week was the big action, and then because a lot happened, it's like, baby, you're never supposed to see them again, and then she's constantly going back over and over and over again.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot.
I think there's like I have to say, like, I don't actually think I think they're trying to figure out the chronology of this movie, maybe a losing proposition, because it doesn't actually make a lot of sense.
Oh,
I'm sure if we consult the Dirty Dancing wiki.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be fine. I just need to watch it 5 more times and write down any date reference, and then it'll be great.
And by that point, you will know all the lyrics to the songs in a similar manner in which I do.
Yeah, and I will.
Which she demonstrated as we were watching it.
Okay. I did not, because I don't know. I was feeling like I wasn't being a very good wife that week, and I just felt like that was really going to be the icing on the cake. I couldn't handle.
Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in that for a minute because I want to know more. Dirty Dancing from 1987 from IMDb. Spending the summer at a Catskills resort with her family, Frances "Baby" Houseman falls in love with the camp's dance instructor Johnny Castle. This movie stars Patrick Swayze, which I came to the weird realization in the middle of the movie. Channing Tatum is this generation's Patrick Swayze.
Okay, that is genius. That is 100% true.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Jennifer Grey plays Baby Houseman. A moment of silence for Jerry Orbach, which I should have also given a moment of silence for Patrick Swayze, but no silence for Patrick Swayze. We are going to sing from the rooftops, the wonder that is Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
Cynthia Rhodes.
Certainly in this movie.
Cynthia Rhodes plays Penny. And also, it occurred to me, I think I made the comment that in the My Blue Heaven episode, that's where I learned how to dance. It occurred to me, Penny is what I wanted to dance like, but ultimately I danced like my dad. So I think I tried to dance like Penny.
Jerry Orbach, who actually did a pretty good job.
Pretty good
did
job.
a good job at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So there's your character there. You have Jane Brucker as Lisa, the older. I think she's the older sister.
Older sister, yeah.
Kelly Bishop plays Mrs. Houseman, the mother, and then let's just give a small shout out to Lonny Price, who was Neal, who was good job, Neal. Jack Weston played Neal's grandfather, Max Kellerman of the Kellermans.
I loved Jack Weston in this movie.
Oh,
who played the
proprietor.
The proprietor.
Yeah. And then before I keep going any further, Wayne Knight as the coordinator,
most annoying activity coordinator on earth.
And yet I imagine that was probably right on point. Anyone who went to the Catskills in this the summer of 1963, if you can comment if your coordinator of activities was like this, we would like confirmation.
Yes, please.
Alrighty. Okay, Polina.
Yes.
Tell me about you and Dirty Dancing. Being a good wife. I'm trying to pick that thread back up here.
I've just been like running, it's just been busy and sort of stressed out. And so, yeah, nothing terrible, but kind of annoying.
That's why you're not singing?
Yeah. Okay. I just decided but yes, all the lyrics all the time. So this movie, this was like, I was the prime market for this movie. I was 14. So I was, and I actually had to call my dad. I don't even remember, I don't remember not having seen this movie.
Let's say it again.
Yeah.
I don't remember having not seen this
movie. I don't remember.
Because me too.
It just was. And so I call my dad, and I was like, who strangely I'm like, hey, you're probably not going to remember this. And I was like, did we see it in a theater together? Did I see it in the theater with my friends? Like all of these would have been going to the mall. This would have been a movie we would have seen. And my dad's like, yeah, I remember watching it. I remember watching it in the 80s. And I watched it with you. So probably I convinced him to rent it. He's like, I saw it on VHS. So I'm going to say that I might have he was like, for some reason, he's like, I don't think you would have seen it in the theater. You were like at a tender age. And I'm like, I was 14, And I don't remember if it was R.
PG-13.
It was PG-13. So the chances of me seeing it are high. So I probably saw it it's one of those movies you watch at slumber parties.
Okay, yeah.
it would come on TV later. It was in like I could probably watch at some point, like watch part of it on a plane.
Okay.
And then a couple years ago, while we're still doing the podcast, I remember I was home and it was on and I was stoned, a little stoned. And so I was like, I don't know what to watch. I want to watch something. And I couldn't make up my mind the way you do when you're stoned. And you're like, and then this movie came on and I'm like, oh, this is the movie I was meant to watch. And I got, it was like, I think it was 5 minutes in. And I got super sucked into this movie and I got so excited about doing it. And I'm like, but then that would mean that would be the last episode of the podcast. So I'm not as excited about doing it. There's something about this movie. And I really thought even watching it, like this time, like, I thought, oh, maybe because it was kind of, I think it was in the middle of the pandemic or something. So I think I was just like, oh, this just was a one-off. Like I enjoyed this movie again because it was a one-off. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. I really enjoyed seeing this movie again.
Interesting.
But yeah, the only and then my husband, who was like 24 when this came out, so he was like, this is too cool for him to have seen.
Of course.
He was too cool for it. He was like
also male, so
he was like, well,
like,
I'm just gonna like. He's like, I'll go watch something else like in the middle of it. And he got sucked in too.
Yeah.
I mean, until, like, I have to say, the end is. I have some issues with the end of the movie. Not issues. I have some like the whole music situation sort of starts to fall apart and becomes a little ridiculous. But
Whoa! Just the music situation.
I mean, everything is yes. It's a little insane. But like, anyway. So it's just like it was a movie everyone referenced. Mm-hmm. Everyone had a crush on Patrick Swayze. It was just like, like this is like such a fantasy of like,
oh sure,
you can be the really awkward girl.
Oh yes.
And you can be the awkward girl who's scared of everything, and you're gonna learn how to not only are you gonna learn how to mambo, mm-hmm. but you're gonna learn how to mambo.
Was that a euphemism?
I mean, sure. Okay. I don't know how euphemistic it was. I don't know if it succeeded on that level. But and it's good. He's going to look like Patrick Swayze. And he's going to see your brilliance and this is one of those, like, they just see you.
Yeah, the fantasy of the partner who coaxes you out of the shell, kind of along the same lines as like the manic pixie dream girl trope.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's perfect. I mean, it was just, that was like, it was, that was just bait. It's just perfect.
Well,
age to see it.
Well, the thing though is that, like, at the very least, the Johnny Castle situation, women love him, men want to be him. Mm-hmm. Manic Pixie Dream Girl, I don't think any of us want to be her necessarily. We want to be kooky, but we also want to have a good head on our shoulders.
I think I went through a period of being like, I think if I was younger, I think if the Manic Pixie Dream Girl was becoming it was starting to become a thing. Okay. And I think I did for a little while.
Okay.
So, but not now. No.
Oh, that's the downside. Like, mm-hmm. Yeah, in all honesty, like, I don't, in your age bracket, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, with Johnny, I'm like, no, I don't want to be married to Johnny. I mean, does he have a chain of dance studios? Then maybe.
Well, I feel like Johnny had a huge chip on his shoulder.
You want someone with career prospects. Yeah. Why is Johnny not going to medical school? That's what I want to know.
Because he's kept down by the system.
Whoa. So you mean to tell me my only choices are Robbie, Neal, and Johnny?
These are all the men.
Or you could come home from summer camp and try to meet a nice guy at college. Mm-hmm.
Well, she was going to an all-women's college, so.
Could be a problem.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or... wait. Marry, fuck, kill. Johnny, Robbie, Neal. You kill Robbie.
Obviously, you kill Robbie.
I guess you marry Neal and then you fuck Johnny?
Yeah, I think that's probably best.
That's the rational choice.
That was easy.
There's really no... I love Neal. Like, I don't understand why it was, like, not...
Okay.
Anyway, okay. Sorry.
Well, no,
what is your relate? We have to go through... We have to finish
really
this
quick.
part.
This really quick about Neal. Neal is not terrible, except Neal knows exactly what he has. Mm-hmm. So he's just like, what does he have that I don't have? And she says... 2 hotels. And I'm just like, we get it, Neal, you're rich. Mm-hmm. So
wait, no, I don't mean Neal. I mean Neal's
the grandson.
Oh, no, he was terrible.
Thank you.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Less terrible
looking
than
at you
Robbie,
saying, no, I
though,
thought
right?
you were talking about, for a minute, I was talking about Billy. I don't think I can
Billy's
marry Neal.
great.
I would kill myself.
Billy's-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Billy, you can't throw Billy in there because Billy's a good viable option.
I'm like, yeah, Billy's marry, like, in a minute.
No, I would marry Billy.
No heartbeat.
Well, also, how awkward would it be though if you're screwing Johnny and then Billy comes and they're cousins? It's just like, honey, go away.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you give it a good interval, I think.
This
You're like, I was 17 or 18 or whatever. It was only a summer. It was a summer fling. I mean, you know, I'm sure Billy's experienced this before.
Yeah.
But Neal, I don't know.
No, not Neal.
This is a very tough. I mean, the fuck is easy. The marry's different.
Okay, you asked me my relationship with this, and the answer is what you said. I can't remember a time when I hadn't seen Dirty Dancing, because in our family, and I believe I've said this before, I don't like musicals, but I love musically inclined movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Dirty Dancing was a musically inclined movie.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of dance montages, all of these things.
Soundtrack, some kind of
I
crazy
had the
bestseller,
soundtrack.
right? You know.
I had
yeah.
the soundtrack.
Okay, yes. Okay.
I think I had it on 2 formats.
Oh, same. So it was the 80s, 60s movies in my family. Dirty Dancing, La Bamba, and Eddie and the Cruisers.
There were so many of them, though. There was like the 50s and 80s, 50s and 60s, 80s. Like,
It's
yes,
that
late
20-year
60s.
nostalgia gap, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the soundtracks are incredible.
yeah.
And to answer your question, yes. So I don't know how often we watched Dirty Dancing, but we watched it a lot. My parents had the soundtrack on cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
And
For
then,
the car.
what's that?
For the car.
Also for the house. We had a tape player in the house too,
We had a tape player.
next to the record player. Oh shoot!
Same.
Wait, no, we may have had it on vinyl.
I may have had it on vinyl.
We may
No, a
have had it on
friend
vinyl.
of mine had it on vinyl. I don't think
We
wait.
might have actually. We definitely had the La Bamba soundtrack on vinyl. Okay,
I'm trying to
I have to think about this now. I can't remember, but I can tell you, I definitely owned it on CD. I got it for myself. I did not have part 2 of the soundtrack, more Dirty Dancing. I did not have that.
I did have that.
Nice. At some point, I owned it on DVD.
I think my friend made me a copy of it on cassette.
There it is. I love that.
It's all coming back to me.
But ultimately, I really had to look down into myself and my timeline. I don't think I've watched this movie for like 20 years since then. Because it's like, I watched it, and there's nothing there. But I will tell you that this movie has a long-lasting impact in my family, in that as we were watching this, I could feel so many of my daddy issues on the screen.
There's somebody once said this is really a love story between a father and a daughter, and I rewatching it, I was like, I mean that's probably why I really like this movie too, because I've so close to my dad.
It's so on point. Not to mention having the prettier older sister. And when there was this thing, it's like my sister and I didn't really have this because if we said it out loud, that would be bad. But when Lisa is saying, it's like, "Oh, you're mad because Dad's paying attention to me now," it's just like,
oh, that was brutal.
That was brutal. And yet at the same time, I'm just like, no, I get it.
Yeah, no.
I always wanted to be, I'm a daddy's girl through and
Yeah,
through.
me too.
And if I had ever done anything to disappoint him, well, first of all, he would never say it outright. So the part where she's just talking to him and he's just not speaking to her and not making eye contact with her. And I'm just like, look at her.
Oh yeah, no, my dad did that a few times. Yeah, I'm real, like I am too, and like that made sense where it's like actually there are so few times where baby interacts with her mother.
Yeah.
And it hit me. I was actually like, I watched rewatched a good half of it, and I was trying to see the times that she like interacts with her mom that isn't a kind of accidental, and there are none. And almost like the one is there's probably some in the end, but one of them is that her mom tells her to stand up straight. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, of course I like this movie.
No, it's a real thing. One of the last notes that I have is at my older, they're both older, but my older of the older brothers' weddings, so Steven's wedding, Patrick, we're on the dance floor. I had the time of my life. Came on. He tried to get me to do the lift.
How old are you?
I think I'm 12.
Oh,
I think I'm 12 years old. I'm wearing a flower girl dress.
oh.
I was a 12-year-old flower girl. And sure enough, I didn't realize how on point it was for there, but no, I wussed out. I think I did it, and then I'm just like, no, I can't do it.
No, it's pretty. Lifts
I
are pretty intense.
Yeah, well, yeah, but also when you're younger, your bones heal faster.
Yeah, that's true.
Something
But
like that.
also, I'm like, you really like, you kind of need the undergarment situation to be pretty sewn up, so to speak. Like, there's a reason, and then those are like slightly different dresses.
A little bit, yeah. And then just again, how this kind of permeates into the world. You had never seen the movie before. So
I had never seen it before.
You have never seen it before?
hold on to that thought. So imagine very early in the relationship, Ryan and Diana, where he comes to visit at a friend's house where we're meeting. All of a sudden, Mickey and Sylvia's Love is Strange is blasting out of the stereo, and I'm dancing around doing the thing, and he's looking at me like, what's going on right now? So it occurred to me, I'm doing this thing, I'm trying to be all cute and flirty, and he's just like, okay.
And he doesn't get the reference
Something
at all?
is strange.
But yeah, it's just a thing of just like dancing around, just like flirting and just, well, I do that all the time where I do that. Is this movie why I'm constantly like having music in my ears, lip syncing to something you can't hear, and I'm being flirty?
That plus Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting.
In fact, when he turned the movie on, I'm just like, honey, I can't hear Be My Baby. What's wrong with the sound? What's wrong with the sound? Put it back.
The music, I mean, it's funny. The music is like both nauseating and sublime. Like just the 80s, the music is something else we're going to have to talk about.
Yes, we
because
will
the
definitely.
music is key.
We will absolutely do that. Ryan.
Yes. So I definitely was like aware of this movie growing up. I even kind of remember it being culturally a big deal when I was a kid, you know, just hearing like the title dropped and thinking like, oh, is this some kind of, how dirty is the dancing? Should I be scandalized? And then like kind of.
It's pretty humpy if you pay attention.
Yeah,
I
was like, okay, it's actually kind of living up to the
it really is.
reputation.
I'm
Like,
like,
there's a
yeah,
lot
the
of
name is not wrong.
And then I like the whole time I was kind of trying to like parse out the relative cultural mores of this because I was not aware until yesterday that this was a period piece. If you'd quizzed me, I would have thought that it took place in 1987, and then in the opening narration it's like, this is 1963. I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't think it's entirely like, I kind of get it because one, the whole music thing where everyone's like dancing to 80s music and it's totally normal, even though the synthesizer, like
it's like, yeah, I was thinking like, how much of this is diegetic? Is this actually?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, and I couldn't remember the word. So thank you, Ryan, for doing both for me.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I was about to say, was the music diegetic? Because like,
I mean, it certainly seemed to be at least in the time of my life.
Well, so that's a tough one, but the montages, that was not in the piece. But at the same time, when you've got Do You Love Me Now That I Can Dance, which one of my favorite karaoke choices.
It was a good one.
Oh my God.
Well, that's the other thing, like the music did. Like, Do You Love Me Now That it was like every single, like my 8th grade like dance was it, which was in probably around 87, 88, would have been like that was playing, which would only be like because who would play these songs
the
at
people
1987
the people who saw Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, so I was,
which was good because it was 87. It wasn't really like music. Great.
Well, I mean, would you rather at a dance they put on She's Like the Wind?
Oh my God, they did. That's the worst part. You have no idea. There is nothing more awkward than dancing to She's Like the Wind when you're 14. Oh my God.
I was in a Victoria's Secret years and years and years ago, and as I was shopping, they put on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. I'm like, great, but when I shop, it's like long things because I do this once every 6 years where it's just like I'm going to get everything for the next 12 years and then I'm done. So I heard the rotation of the soundtrack at least 8 times. And it was cool the first 6 times, but then it's just like, well, I don't want to hear She's Like the Wind right now.
Whenever, like, honestly, the song would I also associate it with getting my braces adjusted because it was also like in, all of those radio stations, like we have Coit, but like all those radio stations that they play in offices in the, it's like suburban offices. Like,
so if you're lucky, they play Kenny G.
Yeah. Like that kind of, that's sort of slightly
Yeah.
not. Kenny G was a big part of that. Yeah, like
can see that.
the kind of radio stations that they play, inoffensive ones that they play in office and
Was Coit specifically light rock? Let's talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't have this was a different radio station because this would have been
Oh,
this would have been in
you
New
have the
Jersey.
Coit equivalent.
Yeah, whatever the
White.
Coit equivalent. Yeah. Or Joint because it was Jersey. I don't know. White.
Ryan, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I interrupted you with my Victoria's Secret anecdote.
So yeah, here's me trying to like do the math of like what would have been scandalous in 1963, what would have been like not scandalous in 1987, but looking back at 1963, being nostalgic for like more socially conservative times, or what would have been scandalous in both, and besides like the dancing stuff and the abortion stuff and the outfits, and it's like, oh, they when they're away from the adults, they sure wear this like skimpy, like these really skimpy dance practice outfits. Is that unusual? Is that what they normally wear?
I did. It's funny. I actually know some of those answers, but also wondered about it. Like, am I being overly pretty? Because like a lot of them, that was a weird thing about it. Like a lot of her outfits later are
skimpier and skimpier.
They get skimpier. So as she's like practicing dancing,
Yeah, and I'm honestly at a loss whether how much of that is like 60s fashion or 80s fashion.
They get very 80s with it.
I thought so.
Like
yeah.
very 80s. Like she's wearing a swimsuit at one point, like and cut off jeans, which is like a total like
80s thing.
It's a Cindy Crawford famous
that
like
looked,
and the cut of it was like so obviously 80s.
One of the things I will observe, not time frame, but I thought it was interesting. She's wearing this like shirt, like a t-shirt basically, but like nicely cut, a female cut, and then it's striped. And then when she goes back to the club where everybody's dancing, it looks like she's wearing the exact same thing, but it's like she folded in her sleeves.
Yeah.
I thought, oh no, that's an entirely different thing. But I think it's so funny when she's with her parents, longer and a little bit more conservative, but then it's like almost identical. But now I'm losing,
which makes sense.
Fabric.
She's like
trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows she did not fit in when she first came in there.
No, she's wearing. There's a lot of like there's a lot of grandma cardigans in her wardrobe.
Wait, shut up. Wait, no, I'm okay. Mine are solid black. Yeah.
No, yours are
sure.
good. Yours are good.
Yeah, and then like during the first Mambo scene, which is Johnny and Penny just kind of like performing on the stage in front of other people, and like that was. I don't know if I'd call it like suggestive, but it's like so they're not okay with like all the hip thrusting, but the mambo where Penny like sticks one leg straight up in the air and then like falls into him crotch first, like that's good, clean family fun.
And like he lifts her like at a crotch and then slides down his body. Like
it's like
I mean there is so much.
When Penny's giving dance lessons and she's telling ladies, come on.
He didn't give you the
God didn't give you maracas unless you
didn't shake
them.
them.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, it's
so basically these people are hypocrites is what we're learning, right?
Well, later on they realize the error of their ways at the end of the movie, and they're like, "Oh, we've been afraid of all of the sex. This is clearly what everybody wants."
No,
right.
Well, no, like you're talking about Max specifically, right? Because one of my favorite parts, obviously most of this movie, but one of my favorite parts is when Max is just watching all of the people who would be scandalized by this, the two older women who they throw off their furs and just start dancing with each other,
exactly.
and he's just like, what?
And this and leading into the talent show, he gives this whole speech about like, oh, I feel like things are ending, or very apropos for this episode too.
Oh,
so
completely.
That's
true. I mean, in general, like that's the one thing I didn't really the whole. I was very familiar with the entire like sort of Catskills summer camp concept. Like I'd never gone as such, but like I have friends whose families had gone. I knew like all this the sort of some of the history of it, which is actually very interesting. But but I was just like very much like it all. It was very like I lived in upstate New York. I lived in Princeton, New Jersey at the time that this movie came out. Like it's all very like it's all of a piece. And so it was funny that you like I was like, oh, it obviously takes place in the Catskills. Like that's just obvious, right? And I realized like they never actually
No,
say it,
they
but
don't.
it's just so, and like then, but whenever you read anything about it, of course they mention that, but I'm like, oh, that's so funny. I just instantly knew it. But
I was reading something similar where it's just like, Polina's just like, oh, it's the Catskills. Hi, I grew up in California.
yeah, of
I
course.
don't,
like,
I
what
don't-
is this?
I mean, I think everything I know about the Catskills, I learned from Dirty Dancing accidentally. And the other part of it is, and it just
but
kind
it's funny because the Catskills actually, like, if you go, especially like,
Mm-hmm.
people, especially for people who were like brought up in New York City
Mm-hmm.
proper, like the Catskills, like they have it's like a meaning. There's a meaning. It's like saying something is like, oh yeah, they go to Napa on vacation. Like it's not exactly equivalent, but it's like, it's kind of an iconography. Me.
See, I'm fascinated by it because I don't know. Again, Polina,
But you kind of know what you need to know about it. Like I think in a
went
way,
camping with my family.
yeah. I mean, we didn't go. Like,
Right.
I mean, my family was,
Well, okay. So let me try this. From what I read from trivia, there was the person who wrote the screenplay. It was about her experience. It was like loosely based on her experience, right? And the whole thing about when she wrote it, it's like, yeah. No. It's supposed to be the Catskills. No. This is a Jewish family. The people who know will know. And then she didn't have to write it. But at the same time, though, I'm just like, I didn't process
Okay,
this.
I have to say, I found all the camp stuff in general.
Okay.
I definitely, when you rewatch it, you really it's kind of genius because it's actually, they set you up really well for the world, right? Because it's like there's this kind of weird, it's like they're having grown adults do things that like kids do in a weird way.
Putting on the
Yeah.
wigs.
But it's things, it's like I'm trying to imagine, because it's like one of those, like I've never been on a cruise.
No, yeah.
I kind of imagine it being sort of like this.
The
like,
activities.
activities. Like I don't really even go to resort. I go to resorts very rarely. But like this whole idea that like you have to fill every second with these activities that are leisure and like what they are, but they're all kind of embarrassing.
Okay.
Right? Like all the people
wigs.
learning the mambo. Like what happened? Yeah. At one point they put on, this is an activity where there's just like a women are supposed to stand, like sit in this table outside and like put a wig on.
I mean,
And
I
that's
want to
like
do this,
fun, but like,
I
yeah.
don't want to do this in a group
That's the thing. Like it's something you do with a friend at home
with all her wigs.
with all of her wigs. Well, actually, I have a friend, my friend Eunice.
Oh,
That she does. She loves. She collects.
it's so
wigs.
funny because when we were watching it, there was right before the Love is Strange scene. They have this like woman, like they're jumping back and forth, and then they're hopping like a rabbit, and then you see in the background there's like horseshoes and stuff going on. And Ryan's like, "What the hell are they doing?" I'm like, "It took me a minute. I think they're playing Simon Says."
Because
that makes more sense
Is
than-
that what it is?
Oh, I think I made a quip about it being like some particularly awful looking dance lesson.
I think it may
It's
be
like-
also that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It could be. I mean, I'm trying to make logic.
But it's
out
like
of it.
it's this thing of like this is what people of all ages will find like
Well, you remember
relaxing and leisurely.
Max's speech, his lament at while the talent show is going on, is just the fact that kids, they want to go to Europe now. They don't want to learn how to foxtrot. They
Yeah.
don't. The whole idea is it's where the whole family can come together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't really know if there are places like that anymore because it's like
They actually do. So there's my friend of mine. She likes to go. Doesn't go very often, but she does. She lives here now, but there's like, I don't think it's like all dance lessons and that kind of stuff, but like, it's still a resort like this, like on a lake with like boating.
Okay.
They have like music at night.
Okay.
Like dancing, that kind of thing. Like you get babies. You kind of get like. The kids get like a kids camp thing. They have all of the meals together.
That makes more sense.
Like it still exists. The other thing is, I'm sure there's that whole like comic. This is where a lot of comics came out of the Borscht Belt. This is part of the Borscht Belt.
Okay.
Is the Catskills. So there would be all these like sort of entertainers making money by doing these, and like there's a very particular kind of humor, which they also reference at one point. They have like this, like "Take my wife, please" kind of,
and
like
how
that was actually I was like, okay, I've actually seen this joke twice now because I was rewatching. I'm like, it's actually a pretty good joke.
I mean, are you talking about the one I met this woman? Perfect, exactly. My mother talks
exactly like
her.
my mother talked. Yeah, looks
Yeah.
like her.
My dad hates her.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
So that kind of like
Right.
silliness.
Sure. But also the take my wife thing. It's like, for the longest time, I'm just like, one of these days, Alice, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah, she should shut her trap.
Yeah,
That just
I get it.
more societal changes.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I know. I'm like, that's
Right.
good. That one's good.
Speaking of societal changes,
Yes.
when you're like 4 or 5 years old and you're watching this movie with your
Okay,
parents,
what do you think about when you're watching this movie?
Mom, what's knocked up mean? Yeah. So going back, I don't remember watching this with my parents, but I watched this movie so many times, looking at how my mom just very strategically fast forward things.
Oh.
The talent that I got from my mother, I'm just like, well, I'm not interested in this part, not interested in this part.
Yeah, what part did you rewind to?
Rewind to? Oh, you gotta watch the last scene. You gotta watch The Love is Strange. You gotta watch the montage of her getting better and better. The part where she carries a watermelon.
Oh, yeah. That's classic.
Just, certain things. Oh, the part where Baby is being talked to Neal. He's taking her to the kitchen. She sees Penny crying, and immediately she's just like, oh, I gotta help. But there's so many things that I just could not deal with, like Penny and what she went through. Like, I have the dialogue in my head, but it's in the lens of a 8-year-old, where I'm just like, something where he had a dirty knife in a folding table, and I'm just like, da, 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 dirty knife and folding table. It's just like,
exactly.
It's through
right, but you don't like, and this is an age, like, I feel like watching that, like, it's rewatching that, it actually feels very brutal. Like, it really did feel effective for me for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, I think when I watched, like, when I saw it, when I was like, oh, I'm like, well, Patrick Swayze is in this scene. I was like, and Jerry Orbach. It's like, it's all good. Like, the dad is saving him. Everything's fine. Like, oh, those I'm like, but abortion's legal now. Everyone, it's all fine. And like, it's weird to watch. Yeah. Watching an abortion subplot right now is just feels more emotional than it did then. I was like, this would never happen. Now it's fine.
I didn't really process why Robbie was just a jerk. I just know Baby knows he's a jerk, so he's a jerk. And then as I got everything where he shows her a copy of the Fountainhead.
Oh my God, the Fountainhead moment. I did not remember that at all.
I remember him saying, I'm just like, he pulls out a book. He wants to give it to her, but give it back to me. I have notes in the margins. It's like those details that I know, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Just like in so many levels of it. And I had to read in trivia that I always thought when Dad Houseman, what is his name? I forget his name. When Jerry Orbach's character.
Jake Houseman.
I think everyone just calls him Dr. Houseman.
Yeah, he's
Dr. Houseman.
He's Dad.
Yeah.
When he gives Robbie something, I thought he was just giving him a big ass tip at the end, and then he pull it back, because I always remember he just like, he finds out that Robbie was the one who got Penny in trouble, and then he pulls the thing back.
No, he's giving him a check.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was money. According to the trivia, of course, it's IMDb trivia, so it's written as a letter of recommendation.
From med school.
That actually makes more sense.
It makes sense, but the thing is, money is also good too.
Right. I thought he was handing him a check for med school.
Oh.
Because it was in an envelope. And the other time he just like literally gives us. So I looked this up.
Okay.
And basically, like, in today's dollars from 1963, which you looked up, it's like over $2,000
for $250.
Yeah.
Yes.
$250. And then no, I should have written that down. But so whatever. At 87, it's serious.
63.
Yeah.
Or not 87, 63.
No, but I saw it.
Now. Yeah, it's about a factor of 10. So that's about $2,500.
Yeah.
We looked it up during the movie.
So $2,500 is like a serious amount of money to hand over to
stranger.
You don't know what. And I could understand where maybe Baby is so sheltered that she, or just is so like not of this. Well, she's studying economics. That's not true. I was going to say, like, maybe she's like doesn't really quite understand like what that money means.
But here's the next level, and I usually would not listen to Baby confronting her father. But when she did, and I listened to what she actually said, first of all, I was like, "Oh my God, you're 17 years old, but I am so proud of you right now."
Yeah, no,
I didn't have these revelations realizations, whatever you want to call them, till like it's a joke in my family, like, you know, Diana, when she finally had her big rebellious phase at 26 years old, and I'm just listening to her say that, you know, just like, I'm sorry you didn't know these things about me, but you lied to me too.
Mm-hmm.
You said you wanted me to change the world, but you wanted me to do it by going to college and becoming a lawyer or a doctor or marrying one. You don't want me helping people. You only want me helping people if you deem them to be worthy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. Not baby, the writer of this, the screen. Yeah, it's just like
the weirdest
amazing.
thing is the screenplay is like, it also, much like the soundtrack, I feel like it's either terrible or like there's these fantastic lines, and then like that confrontation was pretty good, but also the whole premise, this like makes me a little crazy. So the whole premise made me
the abortion, or the fact that he's 25 and she's 17.
Oh, that actually didn't bother me, because I think when I was 17, I couldn't really do that. I was dating a 23.
Okay. There's lots of rage on the internet.
Oh, I know, I'm sure. I mean, and my husband's like 10 years older than me, so I feel like I really don't have a leg to stand on. But like, and also like, I don't know, it was creepily the 80s. That was just like, that actually seemed like nothing. I mean, that was nothing. And also, she could be 18. She's going to Mount Holyoke in the fall. She's probably 18.
She's probably 18, if not.
She's 18. Yeah. I mean, but
at the same time, 18 doesn't magically make you a.
No. But I mean, I don't know. It just feels
it's not. This is not okay. You said this plot makes you crazy.
Okay, but it's not that one. I don't. That's like that one made sense to me. But
I wanted to address it. But go ahead.
Okay. And by the way, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that does not like
that didn't.
It makes sense to me, because it's like, she's 18. She basically is looking for someone to kind of initiate her into this world. She actually has a lot of agency, like in this relationship. This is actually like,
she fights back so much.
She really has. This is, everything happens because she wants it to. She's not. She's the one that pursues him in a way.
Right.
Actually pursues,
in
not even a way.
I was about to say, not in a way.
Actually pursues.
That's what happened.
And like, everything kind of happens at her pace. She actually, she is an equal in the relationship, and that is a big part of it, right? That they each bring something different.
There's definitely different dynamics.
So it doesn't feel like there's a power dynamic exactly, even though, I mean, there's like, or rather, the power dynamic keeps shifting between the two of them.
I think so, yeah.
Because they need each other.
In different ways.
Yeah, in totally different ways. So it's like, but one of the things that is like really does drive me, because like, there's all these, so the whole thing is they set you up like, oh, obviously, you know, they get treated like shit.
Are you talking about like Johnny
the
Penny
dancers,
Billy?
the talent. Yeah. But it's interesting because, and so it's the implications, obviously, they're not Jewish too.
Oh yeah, I read that in trivia as well.
They're outside.
He was originally supposed to be Italian in the script.
I think it's like, I just instantly got that part. Like that is actually like the part, because you know they make it very clear, and it's a bit ridiculous. Like it's like, they're actually dancers, like they are necessary, and so that like they have less status than the busboys.
That's
like,
what I was thinking
this
too.
is insane.
Yeah.
But also
because the busboys are trying to work their way up, Polina,
whereas exactly. They're college boys. Remember they kept saying that they're college boys. So anyway,
they're the ones who are supposed to date the daughters, according to Matt.
Exactly, but the other ones are not supposed to touch the daughters.
Exactly, and it just like, ugh.
But
so gross.
So here's the deal. So Penny and Johnny, the first time you see them together, they are doing this, like, as Ryan pointed out, this like really intimate, physically intimate and exciting, and they have a lot of chemistry between them dance. And then every time you see them, they are together.
Yes.
They are like, they take care of each other.
Yes.
In every way, it's like, I mean, at one point they say, oh, they actually haven't been together in years. But she sees that, but nobody else in the movie sees that, and no one ever wants to correct them. And so the whole thing rides of like, oh, they're being unfair to Johnny because how could they think that he knocked her up? How dare they? But literally, the first time the dad meets Johnny,
Yeah.
and Penny is basically like needs help after this botched abortion.
Yep.
And he asks her, who is responsible?
Responsible.
And he says, I am. And then,
To be fair, he says, who's responsible for this girl?
And he goes, I am. And then everyone is very, like, when Baby, like, has that confrontation with her father, she's basically like, you're looking down on him because he's, like, from another class. But actually,
Yeah.
like, of course he would think that. Like Baby, and actually Johnny also gets mad at Baby for assuming that as well when she just finds out a minute ago.
What's he going to do about it?
And I'm like, but literally, what other conclusion are you going to come to? And instead of going, I needed just so you know, I'm not the father. We are friends, which would be like a normal thing to say to somebody if like, you know, if you ran into, just to be like, hey, look, just so you know. No, it becomes the plot point of basically no one understands how sensitive Johnny is. But literally, like, what other conclusion could you possibly come to? I mean, except that the implication, I mean, I understand that it would feel insulting if the implication is that this guy couldn't, like, that this guy, like, got someone pregnant and they're not, like, taking care of it.
Right.
I guess, kind of, like, you don't know anything about me, but that, like, literally all the evidence this guy has.
Yeah.
But then also, no one ever,
just one.
She's like,
Billy does.
She does, but
no,
like,
Billy says something.
Billy does say something, but nobody goes, okay, I can like you would think that actually the most efficient way to handle this whole thing would be to have Baby basically tell her dad about Robbie getting her pregnant, getting Penny pregnant, and Robbie's after the older sister, after Lisa.
Yeah.
So you would think like he'd be like, oh, okay. And he's like super good friends with the guy who owns the place. Like that would have been the efficient way to solve that thing. Like just and you know, Baby is studying to be an economist. And I'm like, this is wrong.
Is the issue that Baby at that point would have given up hope that her father would believe she was telling the truth though?
This is very early on.
At that point. I thought you meant like after she was already like scandalized when they found out that she had been with Johnny. No, I thought that early on she just like didn't want to break Penny's confidence at all. Like she was trying to keep it a secret that Penny was getting an abortion in the first place.
Right. I think she was. You're right. But like I would think that she's like.
And then by the time he's called
in, you're right. That makes some sense. That she's like, because I just would. I don't know. I would think like I would try to. I still think that talking to like,
one thing,
it's true. Like, I think we are operating under some logic that like this wouldn't have been so embarrassing for the woman because it's now.
And then by the time the information starts flowing out, then there's this kind of like interlapping set of tensions, and the like more toward the middle of the story after the doctor got called out for when like Penny's bleeding, and then at that point he's like, you know, Baby's maybe worrying that like, oh, you know, my dad's just gonna think I'm covering for Johnny or whatever. So,
yeah, that's a good point. But still, I'm like somebody should.
It it is kind of hilarious the way
like
that
Robbie
just gets,
never gets his just desserts.
I mean,
he does at the end. Well, I mean that's what I was going to say. It's so funny the way that Dr. Houseman does learn the truth eventually, or Robbie just comes up and says, "Oh, by the way, hey, thanks for helping take care of that whole situation with that girl that I knocked up." And like, wait, what? You all didn't know that already? Is this there was a web of secrets and lies going on to which I was not privy?
It's like,
so I was getting protected, and I could have gone after your daughter?
Exactly. Like, wait, what? Well, he just doesn't get a letter of recommendation. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, that's not canceled. That's just wrist, like,
Well, he probably won't also get his job back next year, but it doesn't matter because he's going to college, maybe. I mean, the consequences of what Johnny would have gotten, except, no, Robbie, you can't have your job. You know what else I just realized? And another Johnny did good for, you know, Jake, in a manner of speaking, where what he wants for his daughters is that if he hadn't fallen in love with Baby, he wouldn't have turned down that woman whose husband was only there on the weeknights. And then Lisa would have gone to Robbie and actually would have lost her virginity to him too. Actually, I don't know if she's I'm going all the way with Robbie doesn't mean losing virginity, but she would have actually,
I'm pretty sure that's what it
I
meant.
assumed it as well too. The only thing is that again, I'm trying to not make these assumptions, but at the same time, you know,
I mean, they're kind of leading you in a direction, so I'm going
what else would going all the
Well,
way?
yeah,
mean?
exactly.
No.
Trying to marry him.
She
maybe.
may have gone all the way with someone else before Robbie.
Oh,
no, I was saying
virginity.
for the first
Virginity.
time. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you're right.
No, I meant virginity, not.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah, I didn't mean. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, you're right. Like, but still, like, it's an emotion. It's an important moment. It's a, you know, I don't know. It's not the free love decade the 80s was.
It kind of. It's so
well,
confusing.
later, but yeah.
Right, exactly. There's just like so many interesting dynamics that are going on in that movie, and it's just after we watched it, I was really worried about.
But the thing that you learn from Dirty Dancing is all interesting dynamics can be very easily sorted out if you just have a really good set of dancers break into whatever group dynamic you're having trouble with and just get everyone moving.
You see, the trouble with that, it only works in real life if you can do it to a song from 20 years in the future.
That's exactly right.
Oh no, Taylor Swift, get on that, please.
Yeah.
She's gonna try to fix the world with a song of some kind. Who did she break up with back then? I don't know what's gonna happen. But I was really afraid to watch this movie again because again, it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
I was worried it was going to be really, really bad, and it was going to be like, oh, all of this like listening to the soundtrack all these years and feeling really good about the music, but the movie itself is going to suck ass.
Yeah.
And you are not wrong, Polina, in that there are some things where I'm just like, wow, Johnny, that's really important what you're trying to convey right now, but you're not doing a great job, Patrick Swayze. Go dance some more because you're very good at that. And he's not a terrible actor, but just like
no, and actually, I think the parts that he's sexy, like, or not just sexy, but the parts that are actually about them having a relationship,
right?
He is very good at.
Yeah,
Well,
kind of
also-
like physical charisma and screen presence kind of thing.
Yeah, and just like the way he like looks and talks, like
He's
when they're
very
actually
intense,
in when they're in relationship,
I'm
it's like better. But yeah, the whole like chip on the shoulder subplot, also terribly written. He just cannot pull off. Like you're like
you don't understand,
like,
baby. They're
like,
like you got all these rich women and they're giving me like their key cards and everything like
and
that.
they smell good,
and
I'm
they
like,
smell good.
And I'm like, wait, just like I'm like, what was going on with like working class women? I mean, that's like, do they like smell terrible? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Penny knocks on the door. I heard that.
Yeah. Like, Penny seems like a woman who smells very good.
But she's probably sweating all the time because of
I was
all the
actually
labor that she's doing dancing and earning her living.
That's a good point.
And that's the other thing, by the way, that woman whose husband gave him that 100. I'm like, quick, all right, what was the translation for dollars again? He just gave him 100 as a tip.
Basically ghost. He gave him $1,000 to sleep with his wife.
$1,000?
Well, yeah, if it's 10 times, you said it was 10
right,
times.
yeah, it's like $1,000 in today's money.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say like, oh, okay. I thought he actually gave him $1,000. I'm like, dude, that's a lot of dance lessons. But no, I was just thinking like,
just one night of dance lessons.
dude, Patrick Swayze.
One night of the mambo.
Patrick Swayze, that's 2/5 of an abortion. Go get that money. I'm not saying Penny's gonna do it again. I'm saying
After the third one, you have to start a fund.
you don't get a punch card. Oh my god! But
the Republicans would be so horrified.
So I did worry about rewatching
Yeah,
it.
I
I
get
was
that.
concerned about you watching it, and I
Yes,
will
and-
say that I was so emotional,
Yeah, me
and I
too.
had to break the tension by singing certain parts of the movie just to
I
make
don't
with
blame you.
While making eye contact.
while making eye contact.
Oh my
with you.
god. Okay, that was another thing. He did a lot more of that than I remember, which I kind of sometimes find cringy, but actually can kind of pulled off because he's Patrick Swayze.
Well,
and
the
he pull
thing is,
anything off.
that's part of the dancing, though, Polina. It's
That's
just
true.
like look at me, look at my eyes.
I went to a wedding once,
Just
where they sadly no. Where part of it was them standing in the middle of the aisle, and they had this Enya song, and they basically lip synced the whole song to each other while we all sat in the pews and watched. I don't mean like the first dance. I don't mean some other dance that they did. I mean, like, and we had things, you know, we had like cutlery to play with and other people to look at. No, we're just sitting in the pews, expected to watch this for whatever the 3.5 minutes really feels like 30.5 minutes
There's a reason,
of an entire Enya song.
There's a reason that I do this at home.
Yes,
just to harass him.
Yes.
If you've learned nothing from this podcast, that is something you save for home. Like, and honestly, if you're on the dance floor and it's at your wedding and you're doing that, like, more power to you. That is awesome.
Right.
That is great. But as part of like, not spontaneously, that is what you thought part of your ceremony is. And the song is Enya. That's like my favorite.
If I had been the bride, I would have been like, hey, everyone, I'm the bride. Everyone turn around while I do this.
Yes.
With my husband.
100%.
Was it sail away, sail away, sail away?
No, I know it was not.
Why not?
Sail away. That would have been awesome.
Okay.
Enya has this one song that I forget the
even
title,
remember
but
the
it
name of the
consists
song.
entirely of humming. Like she just sings the entire things with her lips
Okay,
closed.
that would actually
And
be
so it's like- How are they even? Does this qualify as lip syncing? I
Yeah,
can't tell.
No, that would be awesome. No, it was some other, like, I don't even, like, it was one of those songs where there was just a lot of slow and emotional singing, but you can't really tell what the words are kind of Enya song. Like, I don't know.
Interesting. Ultimately, after rewatching it,
Mm-hmm.
I had a really good time rewatching it.
Yeah, me too.
There was not as much cringe as I thought it would be. More cringe of the whole, like, oh, I didn't know that when I was younger.
Oh, I can imagine, because you're seeing, I mean, I saw it when I was 14, and so I think I knew, but I was like,
Yeah, and I could pick up on that energy even as we were watching. I could kind of tell Diana was like just a little bit on edge about
Don't you judge me.
I mean,
that-
it was a late 80s movie. I don't blame her, because you're
Right.
like, this could, at any moment you can fall into a crater of horror, and you're like, how do I escape out of this crater? It's so large.
Sorry, Dirty Dancing, Mannequin. They're the same in my brain.
Oh no!
In my childhood brain,
Whoa.
they're
That
the
is
same.
a good point.
So
Yeah, and I've also in the course of our marriage learned the signs for when Diana is like a little too invested in whether I'm going to enjoy something. And honestly, just the look in her eyes when the credits are rolling, and I turned to her and said, like, I really like that. That was a really good movie. And she was just the joy and really, yeah, it was so sweet. Yeah,
I'm making the look now of happy.
yeah,
Can you hear me smizing, listeners?
it's very beautiful
Someone else talk now.
Yeah.
and a little weird. But mostly just because she was trying to recreate it. But
No.
No,
Yeah.
It's nice.
I like it when you like the things that I liked, or in this case, is like part of the core of my, being.
yeah, it was also a fascinatingly deep dive into young Diana's psyche, because I was seeing all the parallels, and honestly it was a little weird, but
With the dad.
with the dad stuff and the like romance shyness and the wanting to be swept up, and here I'm just thinking like, oh man, I never look like Patrick Swayze. I hope that's okay. So
You don't dance like him either.
I barely dance at all, really.
Yes. Barely dancing. That is your movie.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should take more formal lessons then. $100
I
extra
really
lessons.
I would love it. Next big party. I have a big birthday coming up. I invite you to, and you guys are just like, something comes on and you just go for it. Are you gonna go mambo? Or are you gonna go dirty dancing? I want to know.
No, I'm
Like-
gonna do the lift, and
I'd like the whole mambo act.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna do the lift. I'm going to make it that he says, you have to trust me. I'm not going to trust him, and then we're both gonna collide, and then we'll excuse ourselves early.
Hey, if we have,
No, I think you should excuse yourself and then go dance with other people, just like
Right.
Johnny and
Or
Penny
I'll
do.
just do the
the
thumb lift thing. Yeah.
now, if I had until Thursday in 1 or 3 weeks, however long it was to learn, I feel like I
Yeah.
could do okay. We took dance lessons before our wedding, right?
We did take dance lessons before our wedding.
I am a better dancer than you would guess when I have someone telling me exactly how to move at every moment. But like the social dancing. is
Hey,
not...
what did we learn from Patrick Swayze in this movie? Okay, it's not just the steps. Okay, it's like the heart. Hang on. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. I'm just filling you up right now.
Sean and I have taken many dance lessons and we're terrible at dancing together. And I love to dance, actually. So.
I would like to get, again,
Yeah.
it really made me want to just like, oh, I'm wondering if I should take dance lessons.
I mean, it really does like make you. I mean, the dancing in this movie is really fun to watch.
Oh,
really
so
is,
much. Yeah.
Like when I was trying to rewatch it, I was like, oh, I'm going to fast forward through all the dance parts. And I'm like, that's sad.
That's where the music
I'm
is.
like, but then I'd be like, no, I'm going to fast forward through the next one. And then I'm like,
Okay.
halfway through, I'm like, I'll just watch 2 seconds.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean this to sound as crass as it does, but it's like, Polina, that's like watching porn for the dialogue.
It's completely like
What are you
watching porn. I
doing?
know. Well, it was,
You know, watch this action movie and fast forward through all the
because
gunfights,
I take my job as a podcaster very seriously.
and the dance parts
And
aren't relevant
it's not
at all.
always
so,
fun.
yeah.
It's not. I was more like, what are things that I missed? Because I was like trying to watch it for like the little things that I missed,
so
or
speaking-
just to remind myself.
So speaking of the things that I missed,
Mm-hmm.
again, did not know as a kid what was going on here. The whole thing with the wallet being stolen, the whole
Oh my god, I totally did not know that. Like the whole thing with the sweet old woman.
I didn't know.
Surprising setup and payoff there that you weren't really expecting.
Exactly.
But,
I
it's
No,
like
something rewatching it. I
Yes.
was like, wait, because I was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was a Deus Ex Machina thing. Like, oh yeah, this sweet old woman, sure. And then when I was rewatching, I saw that they helped.
Yeah,
Her
they
with
helped
the
her
bag.
with the thing. They showed up at the other hotel. They might have
Yeah.
Yeah,
turned
there
her
was
in.
they even teased it like, oh, that couple from the resort was at the hotel. They're going to recognize us and blab,
Right,
and then
yeah.
it wound up paying off in this completely
And you
different way.
see her drop her bag and
Yeah.
have three men's wallets like fall out of it.
That to me, I was always focused on like the yarn. I was
Oh
never
no, 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't, and was when I rewatched it.
and that just kind of like blew my mind because again, the confrontation with Baby and her father, like
Mm-hmm.
the actual what happened, I'd always fast forward because I'd never do it. And the fact that like Johnny and Baby are fighting, I don't want to watch this. So I never pieced together. When the wallet thing came up, I'm just like, oh, I always thought it was that jealous wife who slept with Robbie who said, my husband's wallet's missing. What's up that Johnny guy? I always thought that was just her exacting revenge
Yeah,
on
me
him.
too.
So I just think it's amazing that all this time, I'm just like, oh,
It actually made
I
sense.
demonized that woman for no good reason. I mean, she's still.
Well, you should write her a letter of apology.
I'm sorry. Actually, according to IMDb trivia, that was the choreographer's assistant,
Oh, right. Because originally
the actress that played the mom, Kelly Bishop.
Kelly Bishop of Gilmore
she
Girls,
wrote-
and actually Broadway fame. She's amazing.
very nice. Well,
Very
she
amazing
stepped
actress.
in as the mother because
Yeah,
yeah,
because she was originally that woman,
right.
the bitchy, the
Yeah, she was originally that.
okay, that scene when they describe it was the bungalow. It was the bungalow bunnies.
Bungalow bunnies. Yeah.
And then, like, this is when I really love Max, Jack Weston's character. He's like, he's away a lot. It's a hardship. Just like the way he delivers that line
Yeah.
is so like he's just such a cynical like
And those beats
bastard.
that I remember, just
Yeah.
that Jack's coming up on
Friday.
Friday. Just like, okay,
Yeah,
it's in my memory. The
I
cadence of it is there.
and they smell so good.
They smell so good. It's so weird that I want to put him in this whole
I
like
have to say, I
John
started
Travolta
wearing
impression.
perfume around the age of 14, and I
Trying to
think it's this
attract-
movie. I think I was like, I remember because when I saw it, I had that moment of like, I remember this part. Oh, they smelled so good, and I was like, I want to be one of those women that smells.
gotta smell
really
rich.
Good. I know, exactly.
Well, that's the other thing.
it was
is
also kind of a time of perfume.
I was also like 14 is about when you start
Thinking about those things.
sweating more and
Yes.
being stinky.
Oh, you're totally right.
I knew she was going to say that.
Yeah.
No, but it's totally true.
Puberty
you're-
is
yeah.
awkward.
Well, also like the 80s, like were that time when we got really into, there was all those like kind of celebrity perfume. And so
Designer
I
Imposter?
think designer, and then in Designer Imposter, oh my God, the Designer Imposter.
I believe I stole from my sister exclamation. It made an exclamation point with the cap.
I remember exclamation. I remember everyone had a signature. All my friends, we had a signature scent. Mine was Liz Claiborne.
I just got a Liz Claiborne skirt yesterday.
Oh my God.
Which is so funny. So she is timeless.
She apparently is.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Whereas
It was yellow.
which is so funny because my
It was a
friends
yellow.
had signature scents from the Bath and Body Works collection.
Yes, well, this was right. I remember when Bath and Body Works like came on the scene. Oh no, it wasn't Bath and Body Works. So ours was Body Shop. So that was the body shop, and it was like, you know, it was really exciting because it was supposedly cruelty free.
Oh,
this
that's
was like the
never
first
the
time,
case.
but actually, turns out it wasn't. But
turns out, if you spray anyone in the eyes, it's never cruelty.
yeah. I think they were like, but yeah, it was before Bath and Body Works.
Yeah. Wow.
I would have been Bath and Body Works all over.
So important question, Polina. Did baby smell good enough?
Apparently.
Well, no. Okay. Did she smell good enough when Johnny fell in love with her? And when was that?
Oh my God, we're here already.
Wow.
Oh. Well, okay.
Wow, I really brought the house down.
Damn, I don't know. I know. It's just like, you know, I was just emotional. It's like I'm in denial. This is it. Okay, but actually, I can
I feel like I had an answer picked out while we were watching the movie, and now I've just completely forgotten. And you'd think after doing this enough times, you'd remember to like take notes on this, but no.
I have to say, I did it. When I was rewatching, I was like, oh, I'm like, when did Johnny fall in love with her? I should probably like find it, and I did. But then I was the first time I was like, oh shit, I never that question always took me by surprise. Like every time.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I would think like early on I would think about it. Like probably but like I think after like about the fifth one, I was like, oh shit, I should have thought of this. But I always had an answer. And it was always, sometimes I would remember it at the beginning of the podcast and be like, this is what I'm gonna say. And then I would change it by the end. But this...
I remember a handful of times, Ryan, you're just like, crap, I know what happens next. I didn't remember for this. I forgot about this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think... So, she obviously falls in love with him, or lust with him. Like at first, she also falls in love at first sight. But I actually think it's seeing him with Penny. So I think there's two things. I think for her... Wait. Am I not supposed to talk about her yet?
No, you can. When did they fall in love, Polina?
Okay, the whole thing. Okay. I'm obviously rusty. Okay, so with her, I think it's basically like, obviously like lust is at first sight, but I actually think that competence, seeing someone do something like that well.
Oh, you're bringing me back to the broadcast news episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, that's it. Like this, it's like, how do you kind of not? And then,
I love when somebody displays their skills like that.
And the thing is, so I actually was listening to You Must Remember This, which, it was supposed to be the Dirty Dancing and Flash Dance episode, but they basically got into Dirty Dancing for about 5 minutes and spent like 2 hours, talking about which
sounds like us.
Not Flashdance. I'm sorry, not Flashdance. It was the other movie. Sean kept confusing it with
Staying Alive.
I always have that problem too. I think maybe now that I've seen this, I'll be able to remember which one is Gray and which one is Beals.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
Oh, and apparently the actress who played Penny is in
apparently
both
Sean
of those.
cannot, so I don't know.
Sorry.
Fatal Attraction, because they both came out in 1987.
I'm glad there's some through line.
Yeah. And it was interesting.
I will not be ignored. And I click on the lamp and turn it off. Boil your bunny. Fuck you, Michael Douglas.
Oh my God. Okay, there needs to be a Fatal Attraction, the musical, and you obviously have to write it. But so it was just, but she kind of mentioned something. She said that much like Grace, she kind of compared Patrick Swayze to Grace Kelly, which I think is really accurate. Like he's like that version of masculinity, because she was kind of contrasting it with sort of the sort of zeitgeist at the moment, which was like, you know, people were talking about feminism and then it'd be like, those feminists are going too far. And like they talked about Michael Douglas being like, oh, I don't really want to marry. There's like a lot of like, I don't really want to marry a feminist. Like, I mean, it's
Whoa.
It's nice that they want equal rights.
I was about to say, I'm sorry, were they using Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction as the definition of a feminist?
Well, actually, this is another podcast.
Okay.
Because this is so. Anyway, everyone should actually listen to You Must Remember This. This is a kind of an older episode, and they talk about Fatal Attraction, and we'll link to it. because it's just it's an interesting time capsule, and the fact that it occurs at the same time as this movie really does make me appreciate the fact that this was so really was kind of centered around female desire in a way.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about Glenn Close in The Big Chill, another amazing soundtrack where it takes place in the 80s, but it's about the 50s music. Go on.
So I think that she just the line she draws between Grace Kelly and Patrick Swayze, I think it's that they have this kind of masculinity that is at once really graceful and vulnerable, but incredibly muscular and strong. Like the way they dance is very similar in I mean, it isn't, but like they have this, there's in their kind of sensitivity and caring, the sort of like caring for others, but also kind of a softness and a hardness. Like they seem like so perfectly masculine, and I think that's actually also why it's very attractive to like when I saw it when I was 14, this was like to me the perfect guy. I mean I don't mean like the perfect guy like I want to marry, but like more like that's what I want. I want someone who is so like physically aware of me, isn't like that it's even though he's so muscular, he's not scary.
So follow up, because you said Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Gene Kelly, we did Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
Gene Kelly, dancer, amazing. But in the movie, he's an actor. Whereas in this case, it's amazing because with Patrick Swayze, he's a dancer and the character is a dancer.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, Gene. Oh, you mean
Gene Kelly's in Singing in the Rain. He's not a dancer. He's an actor.
No.
But the point I'm trying to get at is that like Patrick Swayze, what he does for a living
you're right.
is dancing.
It's like dancing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's amazing at it. And I think also the way he is with his friend, like his friend Penny,
absolutely
is amazing. Like he really is.
He's like protective without being completely overbearing.
Exactly. That's the thing. He knows she can take care of herself. It's not like he's like, she's a she's a helpless damsel. He's like,
no,
like we take care of each other. Like I definitely got that sense of like they take care of each other, and I think this is like this may be the first time she's had those, like this is how I read it. This is the first time she's actually had active like sexual feelings. Like she's had them maybe like for a particular person that is in front of her.
Right.
And maybe she's had them a little bit in the past, but like this is because she's so like Jennifer Grey is kind of perfect. She's so awkward. And you really like watching it now, like the awkwardness.
She feels very the every woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she really, you like, it's like, oh yeah. But, and she's obviously smart. She's not she's like,
she's thoughtful.
And you're not actually afraid for her.
No.
Which is, I think, what makes it really lovely to watch. Or makes it easier to watch. Like,
I think so.
Or makes it more enjoyable. But anyway, I think she falls in love with him really when she, she has a crush on him. But I think when she sees him with Penny.
When he's with Penny, like the first
first real, like not just the dance, but the
well, there's the dance in the big hall, and then there's the dance in the staff side. And
the staff side.
Okay.
And like I think just seeing him, but it's not just seeing him dance, but actually care for another person, and just like I think she's seeing someone who is her dad. In some ways, which is that he's a stand-up good guy who just, does what he does well. And that is what, and because his dad is very, like, you see him, he's very confident, right? Like,
yeah.
And even later on, Johnny is like, oh my God, that's what I want to be like.
I can never be like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sees that part of it and is like, that is the most important part. That is what I want. I think for him...
Do you remember when he said that thing? It was just the one line. And again, really dorky and really bad, but at the same time so emotionally raw. It's just like, I had a dream that your dad put his arm around me and
Yes.
welcomed me the way he did with Robbie.
Oh, I know.
And I'm just like, really?
Oh my God.
At the same time,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's a little bit. Wait, no. Aw. So.
Yeah, well, and I think this is part of that fantasy of like he's a bad boy, but also
He's like,
but he's not actually dangerous.
I was about to say, he's the most approachable, non-threatening bad boy ever.
That's the thing. He's like the perfect, and so I think that's what I loved about it.
So like Uncle Jesse?
Yeah, kind of. He's kind of like Uncle right? Like he's a bad boy in that what you're doing is a little illicit,
Sure.
and very exciting,
Right.
but not
The
actually
mambo, right?
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mambo.
Well, I mean, like you're learning to dance this really sexy dance with a man.
It's a little dangerous. You can pull a hamstring.
Oh my
Totally.
God.
But that's what it's like. It's like illicit and exciting because you are sneaking around behind,
Yes.
like you can't let anyone know you're doing this. But it's not actually that dangerous. Like even
Disrespecting
the
no
lift.
guests in the staff area sign.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's like that's as dangerous as it gets.
And it's so funny because if you really think about it, you were talking about like this whole thing with Johnny and Penny and like no one ever really says anything. I think that's just a given that no one really says anything because she's there constantly. Robbie is there and he's just like, making fun of them and just like, he gets beaten up by Johnny and it's just like, and still, he still has his job. No one's saying anything. There's like this unspoken rule of just like, no, you don't say a damn thing. But because if you really think about it, lots of guests are coming on the other side. Lots of guests are, it's encouraged by the damn management to like not wine and dine, but to,
Right.
romance these people. And then,
Except for the dancers.
right. So
Except, no, maybe it's just the daughters. That was always confusing to me, but whatever.
it's very,
So the dancers are for the moms.
Dancers are for the- yeah, well,
the wives. The wives are for the wives, and
Right.
The wait staff
wait
is for the men, and
Well,
the
yeah.
swim instructors are for the dads.
Yeah. There we go.
who does the activities coordinator get?
Max.
So, okay.
All right. Do you mind if I go next? Because I kind of want to build off of something
Sure.
you were saying. Because I think my answer is also going to center around Penny. I kind of think she's like quietly the heart of this whole story.
Penny is the best
Yeah.
part of this movie.
Um.
Wait, no, Patrick Swayze is also amazing.
Yeah. I always appreciate a nice like platonic friendship in a movie between a man and a woman without some like contrived reason why they can't be a couple.
That's same. I
Yeah.
love that about it. Like
Yeah.
because their relationship felt genuine, and I just it was another thing. I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. They're obviously close friends, and they work together. They're dance partners for their job, and just if you think about movies, how often do you find an example like that without some like, oh, they're cousins or one of them is gay or what and
Eventually they do get together, and it's annoying.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
They don't even ever cover there's no drama around them. They're just like, oh, they haven't been together. They clearly known each other for years. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they haven't been together since they were kids. So like
Right.
maybe they like dated in like for when they were 12 for a week or something.
And there's it's so much affection, not to mention so much damn trust. The way they have to dance together,
right.
that is a lot of trust.
yeah, and on the issue of kind of like the a temperature of like feminism at the time, and you can like the fact that Johnny is someone who can see a woman as an equal and a partner, and obviously has this very respectful kind of relationship to her, speaks well to his character. And then I guess like the mirror image of that is just like the movie is very quickly laying groundwork for a baby being this like very compassionate kind of self-sacrificing person, where she has like met Penny like that day and finds out about how she needs money for the abortion, and baby like immediately makes it her own problem. Probably like crossing more than one boundary to do it. It's a little bit overly familiar, but at the same time she just cares so much and immediately has so much empathy for Penny, which is nice, and it also kind of
well, even just the way that she sees her crying and understands instantly that she needs to get Robbie. She sees that she's in the big kitchen. She needs to get Robbie. Johnny.
Yeah.
She needs to get
Even better, she was smart enough to go to Billy to get Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. Like but just to get the owner's son out of that room, because she's like, this is going to create a weird situation.
Right.
It's very tender. She's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And I actually like that line. Why is she here? Well, just in case Neal comes back, she can run interference. I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why was she there?
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, very efficient storytelling that just in those beats we're kind of like learning Johnny isn't sexist and Baby isn't classist.
Yeah.
And that's I guess that's kind of the through line that I'm seeing for like what they're learning about each other and where this. I mean, I totally agree that it was lust at first sight, but I feel like the real emotional connection was kind of happening in the aftermath of the whole like botched abortion and rushing to Penny's aid, and that's also like mere hours before they have sex for the first time. So it's not a very difficult call to make in terms of that's where their feelings sort of blossomed. But then it's also just kind of piecing together the chronology of the movie, the fact that that's after, like, it's kind of coming on the tail end of the training montage. And as we were sitting through that, I was like, sitting forward with my non-present notebook in hand, or should have been in hand, thinking like, okay, so the montage is always where like, oh, it's not just she's learning the skill, but they're gradually growing closer to each other. And I'm actually thinking about the observation that I made about the movie Stardust last week about how the more like real life notes of the relationship, you have to expect them to kind of develop in those like in between times when like the exciting story beats aren't necessarily happening, but they can just kind of get to know each other as people. And doing these like extensive grueling dance lessons is a lot of time to kind of let your hair down and just kind of get to know each other's personalities. And I wouldn't go as far as to say that like that's when they fell in love, because the movie didn't really present any evidence for that, but I think that's when they were primed to fall in love. And then with this really you cap that off with this really character testing moment of whether Baby's going to involve her father at her own peril in order to make sure Penny gets the help she needs. And it's like I said, not a terribly difficult call, considering we get like the first sex scene after that, but I think it's pretty clear. I'll stand by it.
I think it makes sense. I didn't. The one thing I didn't get to is when Johnny fell in love, and that is, I think it's actually when they go to. They go to the lake.
I was going to say, is it to the log?
I think it's...
There's the log where they do that, and then the lake afterwards.
I think
they're practicing the lifts.
Yeah, when they're practicing the lifts. Like, I think that's when it's like, oh, I have actual feelings. And I think... and just like, it's also the first... You really see them like get to play together. Because there's just a lot of... Like, their relationship has a lot of really pressurized moments.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like the first time they really... You see them really play together.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, what's great is that even before that scene, because I was thinking about it really hard, she's getting better at the dancing. They do one last thing, and she, apparently does something. He's like, "Oh God, my back," It's like, and he finally just like, "You're trying to kill me." She just goes off on him. Finally, it's like the whole thing is just like, "Well, what's going on? I'm not this like total protected girl. I want to help." And now it's just like, you know what? I've been busting my ass here for the last week.
I think that may be also it, that she basically, he was like, oh, she's not just, because originally it was just like, it takes a lot of courage to run to your daddy. Right. Which I mean, it kind of does.
Yeah. And like he finally backtracks on that
he's
later.
Like, no, it actually does. Because which I like, because I was like, actually asking your dad for like $2,000 is like, when you're 18 and you're a daddy's girl, is like...
That's hard.
That's actually one of the harder things. Like, I think I like going to a bank, or I
was actually thinking, working out the budget for our wedding, talking numbers with my dad.
Oh my God.
Hard.
Oh, that was hard.
Really hard.
Yeah, it was really hard for me too.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm thinking of is that scene. You're absolutely right, because he smashes the window of his door. He gets in there and he's just like, fine, you want to do this? And they go, and they're on the log, and he's talking about lifts, and he's able to actually like, this is not for the sake of trying to take something. I'm going to teach you something. Lifts, it takes trust, and we're going to try this, we're going to try this. And every time they're failing, they're laughing.
Yeah.
Because by this point, it's just like, well, we're doing this, but we're here now and we're doing this.
But we're just enjoying being together.
Not to mention, we're not doing this, for the sake of like, we have to do this, but instead it's just like, we're in this, let's do this together. I think it's really hard because I was like really watching them, really trying to isolate down because the playfulness is in that, you know, Mickey and Sylvia Love is Strange scene, which I absolutely adore. But I would say it's so hard because I can tell you when she really broke his heart. And I think that she can't break his heart unless he's in love with her. But I don't know if it's true. Like when she actually pulls him down because she's worried that he's going to be seen, he's just so angry. And I'm wondering if that was it. But I can tell you by this point, when she tells her dad and Johnny gets fired anyways, I think it's when he finds out that she stood up for him anyways. By that, I think that's when he fell in love with her. The off-screen in between, because we don't know when Johnny found out or how he found out. But all he knows is that he found her there. And he's just like, you know, she's like her screaming, you know, so all of this, we did it for nothing. And he's like, do you realize? No, not for nothing.
Yeah.
And he told her that if he left without making a scene, he can still get a summer bonus. And it was still worth it to him because if you really think about how much he has had to, you know, scrape along to get to where he is, you know, the highs and the lows, the diamonds in the pockets, or eating jujubes to, you know, survive the night. I think that is when he finds out that she stood up for him anyways, especially with that whole interaction between the two of them. And I would say for her, it's harder for me because there's just these lines.
Because like the first time she sees him, she is like
struck. She is struck by him, and who wouldn't be?
I mean, yes.
And then I actually really felt her geekiness when he taught her how to dance, flipped her around. She's flipping around, and then he's gone. And she's like, yeah,
I know.
woo!
I know. That is one of my favorite scenes. Like, it's just a great moment. It's like, because she's kind of like, sort of still dancing, doesn't know what to do, and then realizes no one's here. It's kind of like realizing everyone else stopped laughing and you kept going.
And from that, I'm going to make the call. In the montage when they're dancing and he's doing the thing where he's lining his arm down and tickling her every time, she fell in love with him when they successfully completed that without her laughing. I'm going to say that moment. Because then it's serious. First, it's like, it was fun. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm annoying you. I did it again.
So it turns out, I read a trivia thing where that actually was real. Yeah. Like, because she really...
It tickled.
Like, tickled. She was very ticklish.
Yep. I think by the point where it's just fucking serious and they're actually able to do it, and then they're able to do a really cool move. Yeah. Yeah, she's in it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I mean, this is definitely a movie told from the perspective, like rewatching, it's definitely told from the perspective of this girl.
And that's what the trivia.
And in a way, it makes you feel less like you're ogling Patrick Swayze, because you're like,
as much as she is.
Yeah, you're doing it as much as she is, and she's this like very relatable. Like I really felt like, I really felt teenagery again.
Yeah, not to mention there were just lots of normal people around.
Lots of normal people. There's also like, honestly, this is like I think one of the things that I am so surprised by about it is how sexy it is. Like, I think that's the one where I thought I'd rewatch it and think that's what I thought was really cringy.
Right.
And I think this is probably why my friends and I would rewatch it. You know, like, this is a slumber party movie. Like, it is really... Those dance sequences are much sexier than a lot of movies that had actual sex.
Yes, the way they are just like the beginning,
because you never see them have. You can tell they're having sex, but you never actually see them have sex. Like even their actual like sex scene is not explicit in any way. You just see them like, you know, obviously in bed or maybe after.
Right.
But you see them doing these. Everybody, and you see this dancing, and it's
there is oh dear God, this is going to be a weird deep cut, but the beginning sequence of Dirty Dancing, it's the scene in the cabin, the staff only cabin, and everyone's dancing, but it's in slow motion, and it really does look like sex,
and it's slow motion, and it's like this grainy black and white,
right. And it doesn't help that recently I was on Everything I Learned from Movies, and we watched this really obscure movie called Society. And there actually is a similar scene in the beginning where you just see a bunch of just stuff happening in the background in slow motion, and it's really kind of grainy and just like weird. Later to come find out, oh, that's an orgy. That's actually an orgy happening where everything is just really obscured. And I'm just like, was Society like mocking Dirty Dancing in that matter? So now
Or
I need
inspired by.
I mean, it kind of like you're right. It really does look.
And so now I'm
quite
wondering.
intense.
And now I have to look it up on when Society came out. So I answered. You answered. You answered. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to do the honors?
Yes. So, what happens next?
The 70s?
Well, we got 7 years till the 70s.
The rest of the 60s? Yeah.
Oof. Like, did anything happen like in history?
Well,
in the 7 year 1963.
Let's see.
Ryan, why don't you get started?
Okay. I think this will be kind of a modest answer, and that I'm not going to make any like particularly bold projections about like where they're going to go with their life. But I was mostly just, as I often do, I was kind of trying to do the math on like, do I expect this relationship to last? And the answer basically is no, because like Baby, she's, what do we agree, 18 years old, off to college, has a lot of growing to do.
First year of college in the summer.
Yeah, and has aspirations of being some kind of like philanthropist, joining the Peace Corps. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that a lifestyle is probably not going to be compatible, and plus the like age difference and kind of experience difference. So yeah, I mean, as I was considering like the factor of the experience difference, I'm just thinking like, Baby, this is going to be like her first like real serious breakup, and probably not the case for Johnny, and the fact that they started off in lust, but I think they did develop like really deep and genuine feelings for each other. That could be rough, so I see it as another growing experience for her, and maybe within the next year or so, and just like the events that we see in the movie are probably themselves going to leave her feeling a bit raw. It probably still has a bit of work to do, kind of piecing the relationship with her father back together. And I would say that that as she kind of like contextualizes that, I hope that it would bring her closer together with her dad, as she because that whole period of your life is very much about kind of trying to figure out who you are as an adult and what it means to be that, and as you kind of like reshape your relationships with your parents around it. And I also was pondering like how disappointed is her dad really? Like, obviously he has these kind of like, moralistic beliefs about like whether abortion is wrong, and
it was illegal then. That's also
it was.
That's
Yes,
also
yes, yeah. I mean, yeah. So the fact, and like Baby didn't commit a crime, but she was definitely abetting this illegal act, and and then just the sort of like general, she's having premarital sex and dating outside of her class, and possibly also a religious issue there. And I was thinking like, was he? How judgmental is he being really? Did he, did he sow some wild oats when he was young? Does he understand, is he holding her to a higher standard than he did himself? And in my mind, there's going to be kind of like a developing understanding that, that Baby can do these things that, maybe don't quite line up with his sense of morality and ethics, but she can still be respected by him as a woman, as an adult.
She said it. If you're gonna love me, you have to love all of me.
Yeah. And we only see what like the rest of like less than a day passes between that and the end of the movie. But as they drive home from the Catskills, and he kind of like learns to recontextualize that. I would like to think that his his relationship with Baby is going to kind of adapt and evolve, even as she is kind of evolving into a full-grown adult. And yeah, and I'll just say, I think when she eventually does have to move on from Johnny and find her own way through college and into the Peace Corps, that her father is going to be a reassuring presence, which is a really nice contrast to having to run around and keep secrets from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly making it the father-daughter movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge part of this movie.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not saying it wasn't there. I'm just
no, but I think it's good. Yeah. Mine also has a whole dad thing.
Yeah, and Johnny will bounce back just fine, by the way. Like, not
Yeah.
that he won't be sad about it.
No, of
but,
course,
he
can, but he's like, it's contextualizing it.
Yeah,
like, he can contextualize it in his work.
Mm-hmm. He will be able to date again when he's ready pretty quickly. I think.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going for him.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is going to be concerned. But she smelled the best because she respected me.
She stood up for me, and that's the best smell of all. That's when women really smell good.
It smells like petunia.
Yeah. Do petunias smell good?
I have no idea. I just didn't want to say
so.
lavender. Oh my God.
Right.
Polina, did you want to go?
Let's see what these crazy kids are up to. So I concur. I don't think this is a long-lasting relationship, and part of that is because, like, remember when she thought he was going away?
Which time?
Like when he literally drives off in the car. Like, this is before he comes back. He drives off in a car after he gets fired, and they're kissing goodbye.
Right.
Like, she's not like sobbing. Like, I think in a way she's like, oh, I had this experience. I'm never going to be the same person. I mean, but I'm able to find, if I can find it, if I can find it, really, I think I can find it again. But I think, like, then she's sad, because her sister kind of takes care of her.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's like, but also the hard thing about her being sad is, like, it's also her dad is not talking to her at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I hate to say, like, that last dance scene isn't once thrilling and ridiculous. Like, first off, everyone's supposed to, like, her dad is, like, suddenly, so before, he's really upset with her because she's, like, basically, consorting with the wrong crowd and getting herself in trouble. But then he sees her do this he finds out that,
two things. He finds out two things.
He finds out that the guy that he thought was like the right sort was actually the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And also and then he sees his daughter doing an incredibly sexy dance with an incredibly sexy older man and is really happy about it and is just like dancing with his wife. And it's great. So I mean, that is obviously just a ridiculous Deus Ex Machina, emotional Deus Ex Machina moment.
Dancing
Ex Machina. Yeah. Because you can buy the fact that really it just really good dance could really solve all problems. However, I think that, like, so I'm gonna go with he actually realizes that his daughter has a really good head on her shoulders, and so he also like can see the two of them and is like, oh, they are like, there's nothing I can do about this. Like, he's not dumb, because I mean, if you think about it, he basically gives her $2,000, $2,500.
Today's money.
Without asking a question, even though he knows that what she's doing is illegal. Because that's the first time she lies to him. She goes,
it's not illegal, is it?
No, Daddy.
Doesn't even make eye contact.
And he goes, I shouldn't have asked.
Oh, no, she does make eye contact.
Yeah,
but I'm just like, oh.
And he's like, I shouldn't have asked.
He shouldn't have. That's his stupid ass fault.
It was his stupid ass fault. But, like, I mean, you're a parent. But that's the thing about it, I feel like, is really, I think based on that, they're actually going to accept it. And part of it is that they have a long distance relationship because obviously, I don't think that Massachusetts, the Seven Sisters area, is a hotbed for dance. So I think she's gonna go to Mount Holyoke. I think they're going to actually, because it's a girls' school, and I think she's also like seen enough of these kind of boys and isn't gonna want to do a lot of the like going to the schools to go dance, because remember, they're not gonna be in like classes together. It's in the 60s. And
you just gave me this mental image of her like going to some of those like co-ed dances with the boys' schools and just being utterly disappointed.
That's the thing. She probably will go to one and be like, I mean, one, she knows that they're like Robbie, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And then number two, they can only foxtrot. Like that's it, right? They're not going to be live that. If they, yeah. And even that's bad. Like a first time a guy steps on it, she's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
runs up to try to do the lift, just breaks the guy's neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Travels over
just
him.
terrible.
You didn't trust me.
Yeah. And I think that basically, so I actually think it'll continue in that way because she's going to be so into what she's studying. Yeah. She's going to be so into the activities that she's in. And she's just like, and I think that like, now I'll keep it going a little while, but I think actually what's going to happen is her father and Johnny are going to develop a bond. Aww. Because the admiration that Johnny has for, like I think he's going to he's like realizes the admiration that they have, the kind of caring that he has. Like I do think he's going to be sort of a part of the family in a way. Like I think he's going to get absorbed with the family.
Oh my God.
I really think that no.
No, are they going to Fonzie him?
Oh, they might. No. I think that I kind
Mr. H.
I think that they are. I think actually I think that basically I think that dad Dr. Houseman is going to help. Because he's a doctor. He actually probably, like, I'm going to assume they live in New York City.
Sorry. So, is he going to take that letter recommendation and cross out Robbie's name?
I don't think he's going to send him to medical school. I actually think he's like, you can do this, and is going to help him, he's going to help him try to figure out how to have a career in dance that's good. He's going to help him try to figure out how maybe there is something else that Johnny he's an excellent teacher. Like, maybe there's going to be... He's going to basically be a father figure and is going to help Johnny figure this part of his life out. Okay. Because he's and I think that that relationship will actually in a way continue longer than her relationship with Baby. Wow. Than his relationship with Baby, because I think that I gotta think they're gonna like move in or anything, but I think that he is going to like want to kind of take Johnny under his wing. Yeah. And at first it's going to be for Baby's sake, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
But then, and I think that Baby will spend a summer in the Peace Corps. She will fall in love. She will actually like marry a doctor. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think she's going to marry a doctor and they're going to like start an NGO. Like I think she's going to marry a doctor, and her dad's going to be like, and this is why her and Johnny are going to be him and Johnny are going to be friends. Like, why don't I marry a doctor? And now she just like, she lives in Africa. Now she's moving to Costa Rica. Like I never see her. Like she's going to live, and it's like the 60s and 70s. Like air travel is not that cheap. Right. So it's not like it's still difficult to get to those places, and they never see each other.
I wanted you to marry a doctor with borders.
Yes, exactly. So like, there's going to be a lot of that, that she's basically, and I think somebody who like her passion is sort of, she says she's a, what is it, economics of developed nations, developing nations. Yeah. So I think like genuinely that is going to be her thing, and she'll have the 70s and 80s are going to bring her a lot, 60s, 70s, and 80s are going to bring lots of fodder. It's going to be very interesting, and she's going to be very successful. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to happen outside of this milieu that she's currently in.
Right. And it gave her this kind of like bolster of like, this is what you're going to do. Yeah, I'm going to go into the Peace Corps and I'm going to send my leftovers to third world nations.
Yeah.
Now it's
Which,
just like,
I mean, just the economics of that is just
Right.
ludicrous. I mean, obviously a joke, but still I'm like, okay, that makes me insane. But
when I was younger, I didn't think it was a joke.
yeah, no, I remember my parents, like this is when we heard that an American said this, like the first time it got said, like we'll send to starving children in Africa, we totally broke down, like all of us, all three of us, like broke down the economics of what, of like how much do we send, how often, like, okay, so if a plane ticket, okay, let's say we aggregate all the mashed potatoes.
Can we
we put them all in one? Do we send it in a week? Like this was our constant running thing, was trying to like do the math on how you send it to starving children in Africa.
Right. I mean, should we just send them money?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is why you should just send money.
Yeah.
Because there are agencies that can buy the food a lot cheaper than you can, and
they're already over there. They know the infrastructure.
Yep. So, so I think there's going to be that. I do think there's going to be a lot of sadness, but I think that here's the deal. I think that this summer is going to make it very clear what to Frances, what does she want? And I think her name is actually going to be Frankie. Yeah. Because it's sweet, it's cute, it's a little like androgynous.
It's keeping both.
And it's keeping both. It's keeping baby and Frances. Because she doesn't feel like a Frances.
And that would be one of those things where it's like, I'm going to college. Hi, my name is Frances. You can call me Frankie.
Yeah.
Very easily. Yeah. The beginning of their, that's when everyone called me baby, and it didn't occur to me to mind. She minds now.
I love that line. Yeah. That is a great little line. Like, that is a line, actually, like, it is one of those movies that has really great sort of girl coming of age moments that aren't cringy in the 80s, which is, I think, you know what? That's a miracle. Oh my God, we did it.
Oh my God. Well, can I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't do it. I take it back.
I'm sorry.
Take us home, Diana.
Okay. So what's really difficult is that I like both of I like your future, Ryan. I like your future.
Thank you.
Well, I don't like the not happy future, but I like the,
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Like, I like you didn't destroy them.
Well, yeah, I think in his future they're both fine.
I like that he didn't get like drafted in Nam or something. I don't know when.
I tried not to put that in. I mean, that actually is highly likely.
The front line needs dancers.
Well, USO.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All I could think of.
Elvis Presley was drafted.
Muhammad Ali. Lots of baseball players. A League of Their Own coming next week.
Wrong war.
That movie.
Drafting, honey.
Okay.
Drafting in general. Who got drafted? What's really hard for this is because I want to be happy together. And they were happy together. And they are happy together. I just want that to be forever. And forever is, well, in 1963. I mean, I doubt they even made it to 87 together. But I think what I want for their future to be, and I think this is what I want / what will be in my future for them, is, you're right, she goes off to college. She doesn't do economics. Instead, she becomes a doctor. And in becoming a doctor, she also becomes very, very interested in female anatomy. And in turn, she's going to take this experience with Penny, and she is going to be someone who's on the front lines of the big political movement that's going to get abortion legalized.
Oh my God, that's so good. Damn.
The thing about that, though...
God, that gives me chills.
Oh, I actually kind of gave myself chills as well. Because you're reacting to it. It's not what I said, Polina. I don't amaze me that much.
You literally have goosebumps. I get it.
And I think,
I got chills.
God, and I just realized
It
after all these years, oh God, it's one thing to say like, that's good, Diana. No, it's not. It's just an idea that I had. Polina reacting to it. Oh, that feels good. I think that's what she's going to be doing. I think it's going to be a healing thing with her and her father that she does become the doctor. He's not going, the whole thing that she said about, I'm not going to marry the doctor. She is going to become the doctor.
I'm sorry to be cynical with that. It was such a monkey's paw for him. Your daughter becomes a doctor, but if you don't like abortions, I got some bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I love her created a world where he does get what he wants, but it's like he's like, but I never get to see my daughter, and I'm always worried.
Yeah. You get this dance guy. He is your new Fonzie. What is that? Don't worry about it.
Just wait until the 50s. I mean, the 70s. That nostalgia.
I mean, here's Henry Lee Winkler. He's Jewish.
Hey, there you go.
Good point.
Yeah. That is what's going to happen there. I don't think she's going to get married. I think she's going to become a doctor. I think she's going to become involved in the political movements to get that moving in the United States. The whole thing with Johnny, the long distance thing is what's going to break them up. I think they're going to keep in touch. I think they're going to write each other, but I think they're going to be friendly. And I think what's also going to happen is Frances and her father will come to some understandings. I really have this feeling that Jake is going to kind of keep in touch with Penny because the physician care, what really happened, not to mention that as much as he's going to maintain this fatherly bitterness of Johnny, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong, but I'm still not going to give you my blessing. Penny, on the other hand, how are you doing, Penny? Are you doing okay? How are the things? And he's going to channel that compassion that he's trying to learn from Frances into Penny. I think what's going to happen collaboratively is there's going to be some sort of like benefactor situation where both Frances and Jake are going to do this thing where it's just like, these people have done so much for us. And I think whatever Penny's future is, it's going to be involving something to where she can dance and she can be an instructor. So it's it's modest. It's modest, but at the same time, it covers everything she wants for a future. And there is this unspoken thing where it's, and make sure Johnny's okay. It's never said blatantly, but because we know how much you two mean to each other, they will always look out for each other. So much has happened. Johnny will always be part of the fold as well. And I'm going to say there's going to be occasional holidays where not holidays. There will be summers.
Yeah.
Where they'll come together, they'll meet, they'll reminisce. They'll eventually meet.
There'll be picnics.
They'll meet each other's children's. Like you'll see Lisa's like brat kids at some point.
No, they will be brat kids.
Yeah, they will be brat kids, But that's going to be the connection.
For a second, where I thought you were going to go is a father-daughter abortion clinic.
Briefly considered it, was not going to happen. No, she's going to go political instead. Just just get it, get it to where other people.
She's going to start in Mount Holyoke. I mean, in 1963, that would have been. Is that she would have found? I mean, 1973 is when it became legal. Right.
I read an IMDb trivia that it became legal in New York in 1970.
Oh, okay, but nationwide. Oh, you're right. Okay, right, and so that would have been fought for already. So
that has to be in motion.
Yeah, right. So she would, when she gets to Mount Holyoke, she is going to be ripe for the plucking for that political movement, right?
Not to mention it takes 4 years for college and then medical school.
Right.
And then...
So she's going to be involved in that world before she becomes... And maybe that's why she becomes a doctor, right? Yes. She starts out and then she realizes, oh, wait, I can... This is... Right. How do I do this?
Yeah,
I like that.
Or if this kind of works for you too, maybe the person she marries, she's the doctor. He's the politician.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I did it.
You did.
Now
let me try it again. We did it.
Well, I've had the time of my life.
And I owe it all to you, too. Very much.
I owe it all to the inventor of the podcast, Aloysius M. Podcast.
I don't get it.
Never mind.
I was going to make a bunch of geeky jokes about RSS, but I can't think of any.
Okay. Polina.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Oh.
Give me a hand here.
Aw.
Hand holding here. ASMR with my nose here.
Mhm.
This was amazing. Thank you.
Oh no,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
So for our last movie, if you have any final thoughts, the email address won't go anywhere. So you can always reach out to us, HEAMCast@gmail.com.
HEAMCAST.
I don't know what's going to happen with Twitter, but we're at
We're there.
HEAMCast there, and also on Instagram, the same
Yeah.
at HEAMCast. Facebook is Happily Ever Aftermath. Polina, is there anywhere you want to direct people besides that you must remember this article?
No. I think I'm going to. I think, because really the only place I'm on is Twitter, and I don't know how long lasting it is. I'm at Analop on Twitter. If you want to contact me in the live, if you too are enjoying the last final days of
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm
the Roman Empire.
yeah, I'm similar deal. I wouldn't know where to tell you to find me besides Twitter, but at Ryan Sconnard, you can check the show notes for the spelling, and otherwise just email HEAMCast@gmail.com and Diana will forward it to me, I'm sure.
Same.
Okay.
So
Wow.
stay tuned for the farewell finale episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until the last time, may your aftermath be happy.
Oh.
Yeah, I bum myself out too.
Mm.